All right, guys. So I want to tell you, if you're thinking about selling your house, there's a good chance that you're focusing on the wrong number. Because the only number that a seller should be concerned with is the net to seller. Everything else is how we got there. And here's what I mean. When you're looking at an offer that comes in, obviously this is independent of any specific terms that are important to that seller, which could be any number of things. It could be time frame, it could be, leaving some furniture behind, it could be, they might, it could be sold as is, could be, whatever the terms might be. Because somebody could be, looking for something fast, somebody could be looking for something slow. But when it comes to the numbers, the only number that should matter is the net to seller. So what is a net to seller? Well, the net to seller is what gets deposited into the seller's account at the end of the transaction. And that's after any concessions, any commissions paid, anything like that, what the seller gets, which should be the only concern. And what I'm what's kind of on top of my head is even 2 years after the Clear Cooperation lawsuit that happened in the summer of 24, I believe it was. I could be getting my years mixed up at this point. It's been a while. But ever since then, there's been this kind of, who's supposed to pay the buyer's commission? And, a buyer's agent is generally going to try and get the seller to, include that commission. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. There can be a negotiation. But I really think we really need to reframe that. I've gotten responses from sellers that, my seller doesn't want to pay any commission. Or, my seller's only willing to pay 1% of the commission. Well, what does that matter to the seller? What if the 2% commission or 3% or whatever the commission that the buyer's agent is including in their offer, is that the best offer? Is that net to seller the highest number? Because if so, that's the best offer. And that's really all that matters. And I think as listing agents, we need to do a much better job of educating our sellers on, what is a good offer. Because people have these things in their head. I'm not paying that. Well, what if you're getting the most money by paying that? So, that's the biggest thing is knowing, and this goes into buyer sellers, just what I've been talking about all the time as far as being prepared, going into situations, knowing what could happen, knowing what paths you might take in certain situations. So that goes that all ties into it. And yeah, I just think that's super important. Educating the sellers, educating the buyers on what makes a good offer, and educating the sellers on what is a good offer and what we should be looking for. Now, obviously, if somebody comes in with a commission and that's not the highest net to seller, then that's not the best offer. And maybe you go back and say, if it's close, that's when you might be a negotiation if there's multiple offer situations or something like that. But as far as an offer comes in, what's the net to seller? That's really it. That's what we should be looking at. And does it satisfy your terms, and what's the net to seller?